evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. My name is Leon Jones, and I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. And today I'm going to talk about the protest, Democratic Party, and of course, other topics. Now, what's been going on, first of all, is the illegals. Now, many of us who went out there and voted for Trump talked about deportation. Now, Joe Biden and his cronies allowed 10 to 15 million immigrants into this country through 4 years. Now, we don't have a problem with immigration. The problem is the immigration being illegal, and we are funding all of these illegals with welfare, healthcare, housing. In actuality, people like me who go to work, we're actually looking lower than these illegals. Now, how can people come in this country? They don't even know anything about this country and want to take over this country. And what has me outraged is you have a number of these illegals, particularly these Mexicans, who are coming into this country and they're raising their flag here in the United States of America. Now, during the speeches that Trump was giving when he was out there campaigning, he actually had a gang. They took over an apartment complex in Colorado. Now, you have the Democrats who are actually supporting all these illegals. Now, you Democrats should be charged for treason. Now, I'm just going to tell you what's going to happen. It's not going to help the Democrats in the polls. In fact, something that's not being talked about right now, and I'm going to be the first one to get it. I just got a feed. There were two state legislatures in Tim Walz estate who were shot today. One of them survived and one of them didn't. The one that survived, he and his wife were shot multiple times. And in the other one, it was a female legislator. She was shot, killed. Now, I guarantee everybody's going to try to blame that on Trump. It's probably a Democratic supporter. See, the problem with the Democrats is they want us to bow down to everything they say. If we don't like the alphabet community, many of us never said we didn't like the alphabet community. We don't support that lifestyle. We don't support that lifestyle being pushed on to children. We don't want these trans men or these trans women in women's sports. And by the way, where are the feminists? They're nowhere to be seen. And something else I want to tell you. When Obama was in office, he actually had more people deported than Trump did. So did Clinton. Where were the protests then? See, if you really look at everything, Trump is standing in the way of globalism and progressivism. And these Democrats, all these protests, they're being funded by property cartels, the socialist and communist parties, Chinese Communist Party, because the Democrats have bought into all this foolishness. And I just saw a commercial that some women, and I'm just going to say this right now. If you're a guy out here today, do not vote for women. Don't vote for them. It may sound very, very chauvinistic to me. Too many women are hopping on that Democratic train. It's women being put in power who are actually voting for all this bullshit. And if you're a man, you don't want women in power. Yeah, let's just call it like it is. You have a number of black people, number of white people. In fact, I saw a video with a white woman carrying the Mexican flag. Now, I'm going to say this. What we ought to do for all these leftists out here, and they're doing a lot of lying in the mainstream media, we should deport them. And all these illegals, if your country is that good, why don't you go back there? I can't go down to Mexico and wave the American flag. I would be killed. Cartels really run Mexico. But you have a number of individuals up here, Hezbollah, Palestine, these illegals coming in from Venezuela, Mexico. They believe they can take over this country. And the Democrats are allowing it. And what we voted for was mass deportation. And Trump decided to do that. That's what we voted for. And then you have all these liberal activist judges that are trying to block everything. The bottom line is a judge cannot make policy, a judge can interpret the law. But these judges believe that they have all the power, and they're not elected people. It's the people who we elect. And the primaries are already starting for 2026. And the Democrats just believe that getting out there with these protests. Now, today was Flag Day. It's also Trump's birthday. Well, Flag Day, I haven't heard much going on. But with these protests, it's okay to protest, but protest peacefully. But the Democrats are not ones who are going to protest peacefully. If you look at what happened in Los Angeles, you had the Democrats out there with a hammer. Could have been a jackhammer. They were breaking the concrete off of the curb, and they were throwing it at cars, police officers, members of ICE. And you also had people like Maxine Waters, who believed that she had the authority to go into an ICE office and got the door slammed in her face. What should happen is people like Newsom out there and Karen Bass, they should be arrested. I guarantee if this were the other side, they would arrest some of these mayors, some of these Congress people. We need to make an example of them. And the problem that I'm seeing is we got too many of the old guard still, particularly in the left. I saw Jesse Jackson today, and shout out to Minister Japp. He had a picture of Jesse Jackson, all these leaders. Well, you got too many of these old leaders who are still Democrats, and they believe in that democratic philosophy, that communism, that socialism. The bottom line is Black people, you got to be nuts supporting these illegals. And I hate to say it, it's a number of women. Women are very, very dangerous. And this is why I believe they should not even vote. Yes, if that were me, I'd go repeal the 19th Amendment because they vote for stupid shit. More women are becoming legislatures, and I'm talking about all over. These women who want to destroy the country. It's a fact. Nobody wants to say it. And then you have your soy boys out there. They're following the women. Bottom line is, when you have this nonsense, this chaos, that destroys the country. If you look at the Black community, when you have no men, it's destroyed. Women can't run anything. I don't care what anybody says. And I'm talking in general. And there are a number of men also who have a problem running something, and particularly ones who are Black. Look at Los Angeles, Karen Bass. Look at Chicago, Atlanta, Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia. Look at New York. And in New York, Eric Adams is out. Cuomo's going to be the next mayor because they all love Cuomo in New York. And the media is also part of this nonsense. I mean, the bottom line, with all of these illegals in here, they expect us, and as a black man, they want us to be bilingual. Well, first of all, if you're going to come in this country, you need to carry the American flag and speak English. Now, you come from another country and you bring your language here to this country, that's fine. But you should not get a leg up because you speak another language. You should understand the history of America, what America has gone through. And see, the problem with a number of these Latinos who are coming in here, you hear too many black people saying black and brown people. I never aligned myself with one of these brown people. I never have. These brown people, these feminists, they're all utilizing the coats of the civil rights movement to become victims in this country, to become individuals who want entitlements. But I'm just going to tell you, I know Minister Jap mentioned it, that the Latinos don't like us. I'm going to take it one step further because I've worked for both of them. You think them sand niggas like you too? No, they don't. I'm talking about them Indians. Think them chain changers like you? Nope. Especially if you are a black man and you're thinking, you come in with some knowledge, because I've worked for both of those types of people at PennDOT. And they both thought that, well, why is he here? And if you really look at the racism, we keep blaming everything on the white man. The modern day Jim Crow is with the other minorities who have actually come here off the blacks of the civil rights movement. Now, it's kind of funny. Everybody wants to be a nigga, but they don't want to be a nigga. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by what I just said. They want to take our music, our culture. Yeah, we're good for entertainment. And they want to put that in their culture. And you have some of them in the Asian and some of the Latinos. They want to act just like black women. Look at Cardi B. Cardi B is not a black woman. She's Spanish. But she wants to run around like a ratchet black woman. And you even have so many Asian rappers. In fact, I saw the 2024 Olympics, and they had a number of dancers. And the ones that were Asian, what they were doing was breakdancing. And they were acting like they were doing something, but you saw movies like Crush Groove back in the 1980s. That's when the breakdance craze was here in America. But they took those moves from the streets of black people. And if you really think about it, black people have allowed too many people into our culture. Elvis Presley, You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog wasn't his song. A black man sang that song. And the problem with black people, they align with everybody else except for themselves. That's the problem. This is why I have more problems with my own people. And the people who have sold out the most, and it's not everybody, but it's the majority of black women. Black women, your Latinas, your other so-called minorities, they're also part of white supremacy, particularly when you're a black man. And the funny thing about it is, I remember when the ATM machines, a lot of us were using those ATM machines. Well, at one time, they only had one language on them. and they started putting other languages on it. When you call customer service, English, press 1, Spanish, press 2. And in some schools, they wanted all of us to take Spanish. I know a little bit of it, but I'm not an expert. But I do know one thing, and I've seen it myself with these spics out here. They will come in, speak English, and then when you come in, because you don't know their language, they'll start speaking Spanish, talking about you. Maybe that's the reason why maybe some of us in the Black community need to speak Spanish to find out what they're saying about us. Now, I'm not saying that all Spanish people are like that, because you have a number of immigrants out here who did it the right way, and they want deportation too because they had to wait. So I'm not knocking those folks, but it's the ones who are coming in here thinking that they own this country by carrying their flag around and making us bow down to worship their flag when they have a country that's south of us. Why don't they go back there to their country if it's that great? You know what? I'm not going to go in that country because it's not great. In fact, if you look at it, you know, the Democrats are out here. And I know one guy said there's a generic poll out here that says the Democrats are up. That's a generic poll. And then how many people were sampled in that poll? And I guarantee it was Democrats who were sampled. Because if you look at it right now, anybody with half a brain out here is not going to vote for a Democrat. Because the Democrats don't have any policies. They want to discard everything that President Trump puts in place. Now, I said this a while back with the Republicans. The Republicans didn't like Obamacare. However, a long time ago, I said, well, do you have anything better? You don't have anything better, don't tinker with it. You know, they talk about tariffs. Reagan used tariffs. Joe Biden had tariffs. He didn't use them. Now there's some people who believe that Trump is making a mistake with the economy. Now, should tariffs be used on everything? Maybe on steel, those kinds of imports. However, I know where Trump is going. If we have to pay tariffs to other countries, why can't other countries pay tariffs to us? And see, what has happened is we had a number of these lefties out here that got their way. They were giving money to these other countries. These other countries weren't doing anything for America. And what it is with the Democrats, a lot of them, in my humble opinion, got big donors like George Soros out there. Some of the AGs were getting paid by George Soros. And you know, an AG is a government job, and that is a conflict of interest. But I know when I saw Minister Japp's video, they were talking about a sundown town. Now, you normally don't hear that unless it's in the South. Well, any Black person that was running through a Latino neighborhood is going to get dealt with after sundown. Now, if you think about sundown, that comes from the Jim Crow years. And that's exactly what that sounds like. And I'm just going to say this with Black people, particularly Black men. You want to know why you cannot get ahead? Because you don't know how to deal with feminism. You don't know how to deal with other groups who don't like you. And this is why it said Black people, particularly Black men, you need not to vote Democrat. You don't even need to vote for your own women to be in power because they're against you. Bottom line is, black man, a straight black man, for the most part, we're on our own island. And when we're on our own island, we don't even speak to each other because we tear each other down. I have seen it on YouTube where there are a number of panels, and those panels have black men tearing each other down. So if we can't help one another based on jealousy, we're calling each other coons. And by the way, I hear the term FBA and tether. What is a tether? My vision of what a tether is somebody that believes they're down with blacks, even if they're black, and they're down with blacks just to benefit, but they really aren't down with blacks. This is where I come up is everybody want to be a nigga, but they don't want to be a nigga. That's what it is. But you got people darker than me, them Indians, who are sand niggas, running around with that camel, a lot of them. And I'm not generalizing. They're going to make fun of me. And some of them have been my bosses, particularly at some of these hotels. I worked for a number of them before I got into construction. These Chinese people out here. Now, I will say this about the Asians. You don't see a number of Asians out here protesting, and you don't see a number of Indians out here protesting. It's a lot of the Latinos. Why? Because they're poor. That's why. You see, because a poor person is so desperate out here, you can get them to do anything that you want them to do. And these poor people out here who don't know what the hell's going on are being paid. Some of them are being paid $200 to $400 a day if they're protesting. And today they had a national protest. Now, I haven't heard much on a national protest. See, I live here in Indiana. I'm going to tell you something. You come in Indiana, that bullshit, you're going to be dealt with. We're not a blue state. You even come into Indianapolis. Indianapolis is the largest city here. Now, I did hear that they had a little bit of something that went down in Indianapolis. And this is from Fox 59 here in Indianapolis. But it really wasn't any type of disturbance. Why? They carry guns here. You see, a lot of your individuals or Democrats or leftists, they're going into places that are sanctuary, like Chicago, New York, LA. But what's happening as well is the people in power, they're allowing that to happen. Karen Bass told the police to stand down, and the police anyway were overwhelmed. So Trump brings in the National Guard. Now, he is allowed to bring in the National Guard, and some judge blocked it. And then you have Newsom up here saying that he's going to control the National Guard. Well, Newsom should have gotten the National Guard involved, but he didn't want to get the National Guard involved. In fact, Newsom and Karen Bass, they actually wanted all of these protests to go on because they believe it makes them look good politically. And Newsom really wants to run for president in 2028. And if you're in California, you need to remind yourself, particularly if you are Republican out in California, you need to start taking clips of what Newsom and Karen Bass say and start making political ads right now. Just showing the people out there how destructive the individuals who are supposed to be leading the charge out here, while out in LA, are not doing it. That's the problem. I mean, the National Guard, under the Insurrection Act of 1807, all Trump did was bring in the National Guard in. They didn't kill anybody. And then the Marines were brought in not to work with law enforcement. They were brought in to basically protect all of the federal buildings. And see, the media is not going to tell you that. In fact, anybody today who is listening to the media has got some big issues because the media continues to spin the narrative. And when it comes to these illegals out here, I mean, they're running around partying like this is their country. Now, I have been around some of these individuals because I work in construction. And it is true that even Latinas, Puerto Ricans don't like Mexicans. I know. I lived in Pennsylvania and I heard this talk. Puerto Ricans don't like Mexicans. They don't. And when it comes to actual racism, the lighter you are, the taller you are, in some of these countries, the better you are. And generally, a little history about Mexico. Yes, there are Black people in Mexico. They had the Aztecs. And you have a number of Black Cubans. A number of them were shipped over from Africa as well. But even the Blacks who are from those other countries, they don't look at themselves as Black. They look at themselves as something else. And they're darker than I am. And the bottom line is the Democrats are losing. And see, the purpose of the Democrats, so you know, is to stop Republicans. Because in the past, the Ku Klux Klan was at some of the Republican conventions. And it wasn't just Blacks. Now, we all played everything from the KKK like it was to string up Blacks. No, the KKK string up a lot of Republicans. And a number of Republicans were also non-Black. See, one thing about history, just because it's in a textbook, it doesn't mean that areas of history haven't been omitted. And what we learned in school is what the school system wanted us to know. I'll give you an example. I didn't know anything about Malcolm X when I was in college. I didn't. All I ever heard of was Martin Luther King, Martin Luther King, Martin Luther King. I didn't even know anything about Malcolm X until the movie Malcolm X in the early 90s came out. The bottom line is Black people, they led the civil rights movement. And these other minorities, I'm just going to say this, don't get involved with those other minorities. Stay home. Let the Latinos go out there and kill each other. And the ones that are being deported are the criminals. Now, are they mistakes? Are there mistakes being made? Certainly. But you have these Democrats out here allowing these Latinos out here to wave their flag in our country. Heck, I don't even like the pride flag. It's not that I'm against what they do, but they're trying to throw that up on my face like that's America. That's not America. In fact, some of the colors from the pride flag, they try to emulate the Bible. Now, it's not that they're not Christians, it's their act that's not Christian. The bottom line is, we just have a number of individuals out here in America, and a lot of Americans are stupid. I'm just going to be honest, especially some of our Black folk. Well, Black folk are out here supporting these illegal immigrants, and some of these illegals are criminals. Now, let me tell you something. You're a Black man out there, and you're doing something. What's going to happen to you? You're going to go to jail. But you see one of these illegals doing anything, you want to back them. You look at people like Chris Van Hollen. This is why I left Maryland, because Maryland is all Democrats. I mean, from top to bottom, it's always been a one-party state. I remember when Barbara Mikulski was the senator there, everybody was a Democrat. I mean, the only one that I knew that was actually a Republican, Michael Steele. But look, Michael Steele, He's a rhino. He's on MSNBC. He's on there with a bunch of these dumbass niggas on television talking like they know something. Many of them don't know anything. They're reading off a teleprompter, they're getting paid to lie, and they're trying to get the folks riled up. That's what they're trying to do. See, one way to control the people, and I'm just going to say this, is you can control the people by dividing the people. The Democrats, they want divide and conquer. But a lot of these protests, make no mistake, they're organized and they're being funded by the socialist and communist parties out here. And the Democrats have bought into communism. Globalism and communism are detrimental. In fact, a number of people died under Pol Pot, Mao Zedong, Stalin. They have. But you have a number of Americans who don't even understand communism, but they love communism. I want some of you Americans, because you don't like this country, to go over to other countries. Just go over to other countries that have that communism, that have that socialism. Just stay for a year and see how you like it. I mean, all the whoopies, all your Anna Navarros, anybody who promotes leftism in this country, just go to those other countries. I mean, you don't like Trump because everything is coming down to where Trump is doing this, Trump is doing that. Well, if you didn't want Trump in there, you should have had a better candidate. But back in 2020, you wanted Joe Biden, and you even lied about Joe Biden's status. That's the problem. You said, oh, well, he's very, very smart. Well, we know he couldn't even complete a sentence. He had note cards. He couldn't even read the teleprompter correctly. During that debate, and that's what killed the Democratic Party. See, the Democrats thought they were being smart, so they said, okay, we're going to have a debate. Well, as soon as Joe Biden and Trump debated, that was it. They took Joe Biden, tossed him out, and put Kamala Harris in play without having another primary. So you didn't give any other Democrat a chance. But now you got this bumblehead, Tim Walz. What's he going to do about those two legislatures that were shot? One of them killed in Minnesota. That's on him. Did they find the bastard who shot those two individuals? Well, actually, three people were shot. One state representative and his wife were shot. They're alive. But the female lawmaker got checked out. And it wasn't a Republican. I don't believe so because Minnesota is Democratic. But when you have a number of people who don't know what's going on in this country, who are very ignorant, they fall for the nonsense. And a lot of these individuals who are out here protesting are no loads anyway. They don't have anything to add to society. And my thing about the protesters, if you're gonna come in and start breaking up stuff, well, you deserve to be shot at. And I like that in Broward County, there was a sheriff. The sheriff said, you can protest peacefully. But the minute you start destroying property, you're going to jail. And the minute you start putting your hands on people, you're going to jail. The minute you start tossing bricks at law enforcement, in other words, you are basically trying to obstruct lawmakers from forcing the law, doing what they're paid to do. And you're trying to attack them, the ICE agents, the National Guard. He said, we're not going to have what's going down in LA here. He said, I'm going to call your folks up, and I'm going to paraphrase it. And the folks are going to have to identify your remains in the morgue. I like that. We need more like that. And then you got some dumbass nigga and some dumbass Spanish person that got up there and said, oh, they're going to kill somebody. Because they took the clip, and instead of listening to the whole clip, they took parts of the clip. Oh, they're going to kill somebody? See what they did? They cut the clip. And this is how dumb people are. No. He put that message out there because the authorities in California, they're not doing their jobs. They're allowing the protest to take place. And they're calling the protest peaceful protest when we see it on TV that they're destroying things. Now, I will say this about Black people. I'm glad a number of you aren't out there. Go, look, Black people, it's Flag Day, it's the weekend. Do what I'm doing. I'm cooking up a steak, baked potato, and some squash right here in Indianapolis. Look, go ahead, get your grill out, get some food going. Don't participate in any of this bullshit that's happening. This is not your fight. Do not align with anybody. That's the problem with Black people. We're too benevolent and we're trying to get people to like us. You don't have to get people to like you. That's at work. You don't even need a lot of friends. Bottom line, stay out of it. Because you have a number of individuals that have come here off the backs of the civil rights movement, and now they think they're more superior to us, and they have less than we do, particularly some of you Latinos out there. Now, do all Latinos, and I'm not talking about the ones who have gotten here legally. And some of you who have gotten here legally, I got to ask you something too. Why don't you protest against those who have come here illegally? Because they're not just hurting us, they're hurting you as well. And see, all the jobs that Black people used to do, you know, the Latinas are doing. They're working in fast food. I don't know how many times here in Indianapolis I've gone Popeyes, except for a Chinese place. Popeyes. Kentucky Fried Chicken still has Blacks cooking, but you know, Popeyes, Taco Bell, Wingstop, Five Guys, even over there at Capriati's on 82nd Street. Now, when I went there on Thursday, I saw a Black guy in there. But most of the time, the people working in those fast food restaurants, they're Latinos. Now, I hear some dummies like Jasmine Crockett. A number of you Black women in power are definitely stupid. You don't even need to be in power. You're also part of the danger. And we need more people to talk about this. I started talking about this last week, and then other people have followed, of course. But I mentioned the flags because these individuals, they will burn the American flag. And to me, you should get 20 to 30 years for burning the American flag. In fact, if you're an American citizen, certainly you have a right to free speech. That's not a problem. But to me, if you are going against Americans for some foreign nationals out here, you should be brought up with treason. And if, my humble opinion, I'm just going to say this: Whoopi Goldberg's, Joy Reid's, your Anna Navarro's, your Sonny Houston's, all you knuckleheads, your Van Joneses out there, all of you, your Roland Martins out there, And see, we do. Now, I'm an early Gen Xer, but I'm just going to say this. We still got too many of these old baby boomers and some individuals from the silent generation still running this country, like Maxine Waters. I mean, I don't know what water they were drinking, but the older they have gotten, the more stupid they have gotten, and that's a problem. And and it's a number of women out here. I am putting it on a number of women. The I don't need no man and these feminist women. Well, these are the stupid ones who are in power. We need to get them out of power. Now, I'm not saying that every woman can't run anything, but when you have an opinion, and just because you have an opinion doesn't make your opinion prevalent. And a number of them have gone on TikTok, utilizing social media. I mean, social media is a good tool. Social media does, for the most part, promote different ideas. But you got dumb stuff and something that went on too. And everybody knows, and I'm going to bring it up. Oh, I do YouTube. But do you know they had a beef on YouTube? And it was between a black man and a Spanish guy. Has anyone heard that? Well, what happened? The beef got intense, and the Spanish guy went to Las Vegas. Apparently, the black man and his wife were in town. And in front of people, that Latino, that Latino person, he turned himself in. He gunned down both the black YouTuber and his wife in cold blood because they had a beef on YouTube. And see, that guy wanted to be a nigga. Now, he's probably going to be protected by his own people in prison. Because in prison, you have a number of these individuals out here who are protected. You got the Latin Kings out here, Chicago. And you have MS-13. You have a lot of these gangs. And it's a number of these gangs out here, Latino gangs, they don't like black people. I've heard a few of the Latino women up there saying bad things about black people. Like I believe there was a one this morning. Said a nigga drove through a red light and said the hard, not nigga, nigger. Just like the Klan. That's right, just like the Ku Klux Klan. Now, politically, I believe a number of these people are part of the Democratic Party. And their job is to really incite violence. However, you got the white liberals, they're promoting it, they're not going to stop it, and they want to use what's going on for political expediency. They want to advance their communism. I mean, we have to look at the big picture. Why would you get stupid people out there protesting? Because smart people know what's going on out here, regardless of them being Democratic or Republican. And then you hear a number of Democrats. That word democracy, and I want to tell you all again, and it might sound like I'm all over the place in this video. No, I'm putting different subjects into the conversation so you know what's happening. So you know I've been watching the news cycle. That's why I can do that. So I'm going right off the top of my head because what you see that's going on, don't think it's not going to affect you. It's going to affect all of us. Now, again, Trump won fair and square. Now you have some dumb Democrats who say the election was fixed. No election was fixed more than 2020. We go to bed 12 o'clock. Next thing you know, Biden is winning. And there was another judge that struck down the voting rules. I believe, was it Georgia or North Carolina? Said, no, you don't have to, you're not supposed to ask the citizenship of a person voting. Now, hopefully that goes to the Supreme Court. See, I'm giving you information that you guys are missing, that I'm reading. See, I'm reading stuff that's never going to get to the media, and I'm putting it right out there. Yes, it was another judge. I believe it was in North Carolina, talking about the voting rules, the voting laws. Can't ask citizenship. Federal judge. Now, who's giving all these federal judges power? Federal judges cannot make law. That's what I don't understand. Federal judges are there to legislate law. Now, the Supreme Court is going to have its hands full. And I'm just going to tell you, I don't even believe the Supreme Court is going to get a lot of these cases done. They only complete 75 cases per year. But during this administration, and this is what we voted for. And see, that's the problem. In fact, we know what happened when Biden got in. And see, our side, what did we do? We sucked it up. We said, okay. And we knew what was going on. And we knew that the last midterms, too. Yeah, the Republicans took back the House. They didn't have the Senate. But we knew there was shenanigans going on there as well. But we were mature because I knew. I said, okay, they got us this time. The next time, if he wins, and I knew he was going to run again, this time he won the popular vote and the electoral college, and he won all 7 swing states. And when he campaigned, he told the American people what he's going to do. Now, if I were President Trump, I'd get out there in those areas, California, New York, Chicago. I start holding rallies again. The best way to defeat the Democrats is a primary all of them, and then campaign for the Republicans. Now, I'm not for the rhinos, and I'm not saying that the Republican Party is the end all be all. I want to see more Republicans be a little more proactive. I want to see what they're doing about this big, beautiful bill. In fact, I haven't even seen the big, beautiful bill. Now, I keep hearing that it's going to add trillions of dollars. Well, first of all, when you have a bill, there's going to be some spending added. Now, what the Democrats ought to be looking at is, okay, what can we go off of? What is he not doing? See, the Democrats can't use deportation, but they actually want to use deportation. And one of the main reasons why they want all these illegals here is because they want it in the 2030 census. Now, the illegals don't have to vote. However, when you have areas that have a large amount of people, it's like they want these foreign nationals to come in and replace all of us. And something else that people don't know, you have particularly a lot of your white liberals and black liberals who believe in abortion. Well, how do you restock the population? Well, bring in all these illegals, particularly the poor illegals. They're fucking like jackrabbits. So they're going to make a lot of babies. So there's going to be a lot more people on welfare, a lot more people getting housing, a lot more people getting welfare, a lot more. And these are individuals who are going to come in illegally and be counted and get a right to vote. And they're going to vote Democrat. And for the 2030 census, it's going to shift some of the areas into a larger population. And it's going to basically be an advantage for all of the Democrats. And what they want to do is utilize these illegals by giving them all the entitlements to wipe out the Republican Party so we can have a one-party state and we will be under communism, socialism, and Marxism, because that's really what the big picture is. A lot of people aren't seeing it, but the reason why the left hates Trump, I mean, they literally hate Trump, is because Trump is in a way of globalism, which a lot of people in this country, you have Europe, they don't like Americans. You have Russia, you have the Middle East, they don't like Americans. Now, here's the bottom line. The reason why they don't like Americans is they don't have a lot of media. The BBC, that's left wing. Germany. So when you're fed a bunch of bullshit from the media and you're basically told what you need to know, well, that creates ignorance. And see, if you think about it, that's what the Democrats want. The Democrats, when they talk about, well, he's being fascist, he's being a king. No, in essence, they're the ones who are trying to be the kings because they want us to bow down to everything. They want us to accept men playing in women's sports. They want us to accept women pastors. They don't want the patriarchy. They want us to accept that women can lead households. In other words, they want to go against all of the traditions that have actually helped this country. They want chaos. If you look at the Democrats, they don't want to follow the laws. Now they want us to follow the laws. What they want is basically a lawless society. People can do whatever they want. This is why you have all the delusions of all these different genders, like pansexuality and intersexuality. Never heard any of those words 10 years ago. Democrats made them up. But what you have is basically history repeating itself, going back to the days of the 1960s. A lot of these individuals, you see all these blue haired, pink haired, all these dirty looking people out here. They're on the left. All the piercings. They probably stank. Bottom line is, these are ignorant people. They're going to work. I see it at work. They're going to college. All the institutions that meant something, they don't mean anything anymore because the left has brought everything down. And they're going to continue to bring everything down if we allow it. Now, if I were Pam Bondi and Kash Patel there, I'd start making an example, putting some of these Democrats in jail because, lo and behold, they certainly tried to put Trump in jail and they had Trump in court even while he was campaigning. And they're chomping at the bit. I know you had Fannie Willis and that broad up there in New York saying, we're coming for you, Trump. How are you coming for him? You're the New York AG. You can't do anything. You can only work with inside New York City. But all these black women. And black women, I hate to say, a lot of you are done. And it's not hating you. Many of you don't even need to be in power. Hell, you don't even want to be with us. You want to be with that white man, a number of you anyway. You believe that white man is greater anyway. But you see, and shout out to Hardcore Tito there. See, a number of you are going out there looking for that white man, and you're coming up in what we call a soapbox there, chopped up. You think he's better? Go out there with him. But then you're upset if a black man's going to be happy because you don't want a black man happy. You want to control him. That's what you want to do. I mean, you have to look at the big picture. And you even have the dumb white women out here. My God, I have not seen so many dumb white women in my life until now. And they're out here. And these young ones running their mouths. like their opinion counts, like they know something. Girl power. Fuck that girl power. That's what's messing everything up. Excuse my French. I have to go raw here because I'm tired of the stupidity here. I mean, I have not seen so much stupidity until now. Delusional people, people living in arrested development, individuals who don't have a clue of what's going on. They're being fed a bunch of crap from the mainstream media, their professors. Look, ICE ought to go in these colleges. You really want to make a ruckus? Find out how many illegals are teaching in these colleges. Because I know you got some. Go in there while they're teaching class and carry their ass out of there. See, the way it is now, you're going to carry that Mexican flag, get them up out of here. You can't, if you can't carry that American flag with pride, you don't need to be in it. Go back to your country. I heard some dumb white woman on a video said, well, we got enough food. We got enough to help people. No, we don't. Why should they be treated better than we are being treated? What makes these foreign nationals better than we? Because they speak another language? There's nothing wrong with them being here if they do the process correctly. But you got too many people who are on their side. I mean, how many Congress people are arguing for these illegals? And I'm calling them just as they are. They are illegal. These protests, senseless protests. And you got dummies calling them peaceful. How are you going to call something peaceful when they're destroying property? When they're taking concrete boulders, throwing them off a bridge on the police cars, throwing them at innocent people, stopping innocent people from going to work. Because they want to have a hissy fit because the party is out of touch with the American people. That's what it is. You have a number of individuals today who are kids. And then we got too many, I'm sorry. We got particularly the Democrats. You got to get all the old people out of your party. And then you got to get the dumb people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I mean, she's nothing more than somebody who just bend over, grab her hair, and put your dick in her. That's all she's worth. That's what I believe. She's trash. Jasmine Crockett, trash. But you have a number of people who vote for these bitches. That's the problem. And you know what? You keep voting for them. That shows me the level of ignorance in these big cities. Number of you don't read, and just because you read something too, you need to check sources too. I watch many of these videos, and I know I haven't put them up. I know good old Sweet Chocolate has sent me some. I've been watching them. There's been a lot of dumb shit going on out here. A lot of dumb stuff. People up here, there was a video I saw the other day. It looked like a black woman messing with a lion. That lion grabbed that person, had that person for dinner. What the hell are you gonna be? What the hell are you doing with a lion in your house? Fighting. A lot of it is women out here. And see, the problem is that feminism, that's really a big enemy out here to a lot of men. And then you got all these male feminists. You know, that's the worst thing. How can men be feminists? So you want to go against your own men. And the reason why I believe they're doing it, particularly here on YouTube, is for clout purposes. All you have to do is put down the black man, the free-thinking heterosexual black man, and you'll get paid, and you'll get the women on your channel. Well, this is why I don't do any of these panels anymore. I do just pre-records because I'm not looking for clout. Bottom line is, I'm going to give you the truth from what's going on out here. And my eyes do not deceive me. There are a lot of bad news sources out here. There are a lot of bad educators out here. I mean, people like Dr. Mott, Mark Lamont Hill. And you know, he went to my school, Temple University. He's another one. And see, a lot of the enemies too, we got the simps out here who are enemies as well. These are the ones who are enabling these women to be what they are. They're validating them because the simp is very emotional. See, he doesn't have confidence to be himself. So he believes that he's trying to save that woman from people like me who won't tell her what we believe. And it could come out harshly, it could come out tactfully. Ones that aren't going to put up with stuff. But he is going to put that cape on by telling her what she needs to hear. The simp is very, very dangerous. He's emotional, he's unstable. He comes from a household where there are no men. So he does not respect men. Everybody knows that. So he believes that he can be the man. And he comes from a place where his mama wasn't shit. And if there was a dad in place, the dad was a docile dad. The mom was the more dominant person. See, that's all backwards. This is why I'd say I'm not going to work for women. They want to work, they can work for me. I'm not working for them. I do not believe in this feminism. I do not believe in this communism. See, basically, you think about all these isms, national fascism, which they're thinking Trump is doing. No, that's what the Democrats are doing. That's that Trump derangement syndrome that you always hear about. That's what we're fighting against. And it is true. As a black man, one who thinks for himself, we don't have any allies. We're on our own island because everybody else is sold out. They've actually sold out to what we call white supremacy. Yeah, you think Jim Crow isn't around? Maybe the laws that colors in one fountain, whites in another fountain might not be there, but it's other minorities who, and they're begging for our help too. That's the real issue. So you want to stab me in my back, but you want me to be part of your coalition? Hell no. You want to wave your Mexican flag? You want to talk about Hezbollah? You want to wave your country's flag? See, they're coming in here bringing their culture in here. See, if you're going to be in this culture, you need to learn the American culture. You need to learn how to speak English. You need to learn how we work with our currency. But again, we even have Americans who are enabling these individuals to come in and say and do whatever they want to do. A lot of Americans are weak. And I don't know how many of them have been drugged with stupidity, indoctrinated. This is what the communists do to a lot of their people, too. This is why America, the Democrats, they don't want different views. They want their views. They want to dumb people down. And what they try to tell you is the other side is the problem, when in essence, they're the problem. That's another thing. You got to listen to what people say and then watch what they do. And then also, when you have a conversation with somebody, you can always tell they're a loony bin if you bring up subjects that are uncomfortable and they get oversensitive as well. And you get, like, again, some of these dumb white women. They're out here. When I hear a dumb white woman start talking about racism, she's a racist. She's only telling me not to talk about it because she's got white guilt. I was watching the Upper Deck. Captain Lee is on. It comes on Bravo. And this dumb white woman said something. It was to a black woman. She actually got down on her knees to apologize to that black woman. I said, "Nah, don't apologize to her. You said what you said. You meant what you said. She was acting like a nigga and you said it. The bottom line is you didn't keep your mouth shut." And see, what it is with white folk, they might mumble things under their breath, but they don't want any confrontation. But these Latinos, no, they want confrontation. And they got numbers, much larger numbers than black people have. And a number of these Latinos have gotten blacks out of neighborhoods that used to be black. LA, Chicago, New York. That's where the majority of them have come. And they've put their own businesses and their own people. And they're going to start putting some of their own people in power. And if Americans don't wake up, this country's going to be gone. You're going to think you're being run by Fidel Castro, because that's what the Democrats want. See, the Democrats, and you have a number of people on the left in this country, they don't like this country. So they've already sold out to all these foreign nationals. So everything is really based on globalism and tyranny, which includes Marxism and communism and socialism. They want the government to rule your life. They want us to live on top of one another. They don't want us to have any freedom. This is why we got to keep them out of power. Bottom line is, we don't have enough people with common sense. So every day I get up, and I'm just going to tell you this so you understand. These Democratic primaries, they're going to be bringing up Trump, 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 Trump. He's doing what he says he's going to do. But again, the question I have to ask, how come when Obama and Clinton were deporting people, nobody's brought this up yet, particularly here in this space? How come there weren't any protests when Clinton, I mean, I have the answer, when Clinton and Obama were in power? Now, if Clinton and Obama brought out the National Guard, it wouldn't have been anything said. So the issue is they don't like Trump. I mean, they personally do not like Trump. Because Trump, again, he is in the way of globalism. Trump is America first. A lot of these politicians have been bought and paid for by the Communist Party of China, a lot of these other socialist groups, George Soros. That's why. This is why you have these schools. They're teaching communism. And they're teaching it right under your nose, and none of us know it. You might not have the book of the Communist Manifesto, but they're gradually putting information by changing your thinking. So it doesn't have to be in a book. But you got a number of these foreign nationals too. Now, they're not the dumb foreign nationals, they're the smart foreign nationals. So you have to look at it as well. See, use the dumb foreign nationals to do all the work out there by protesting, and we can pay them a little bit of money. But you put the smart ones in the college, and each time you're going to have indoctrination. So you get the dumb ones, and the reason why you get the dumb ones out there to fight the battles is because they're disposable. You don't have to pay them anything. They think that their opinion counts when their opinion doesn't count. And in the end, I'm just going to say this. Individuals need to understand that there are principles that this country was founded on. Now, the 1960s took a lot of that away. I believe in free speech. But when it comes to protesting, these guys weren't protesting. People weren't protesting. They were rioting. And they thought that they were going to have a, a big protest today. In fact, they tried to be slick about it and do it before the parade. Why? I'll tell you why. Well, it figured if they did it during the parade, and see, this is how stupid they are. Knew the parade was going on in Washington. Well, they should have done it while the parade was going on. Then everything would turn from the parade to the protests or the riots. No, they did it before the parade, which, in my humble opinion, if I'm on the side of the Democrats, that was pretty stupid. But again, you have a lot of stupid people. And see, that's why I bring up everything. But again, individuals out here, this is the United States of America. This is not Mexico. This is not Ecuador. This is not Venezuela. So take your flags, carry yourself back to your country. Your country's that great. Why don't you go help your country out? No, because you got to deal with the cartels and the gangs. You got to deal with the poverty in your country. But why do you want to come over here and be a drain to our country and act like you run this country? That's the problem. And then you get black people, yes, particularly black women and some stupid black men and some silly white men, but you get a lot of women. That's the problem. A lot of women have jumped on board. More women have jumped on board than men. And I'm just going to say this: Democrats, you're never going to get men back, smart men. And I tell you what, even when the simpy men they wisen up, you might lose them too. Because bottom line, when people start seeing their money go away, and this is what the bill is, they have to pass that bill so taxes don't go up. Now, the tariffs, are they working? Well, they're working in some fashion, and in some fashion, they're not working. However, what Trump is trying to do, he's trying to get everything stimulated. You have to understand that he hadn't even been in office 6 months yet. So he's trying to turn around 4 years of what Biden did. And that's what individuals don't understand. But the media keeps on showing you clips of how bad he's doing. And that's what they're doing. This is why you need to go to alternative sources. You see, here, I don't need a studio. I don't need the lights, camera, and action. I read just like everybody else does. And I'm out here in the real world. I'm just going to get up here and I gather all my thoughts during the week. And that's how I can deliver a message. And you haven't heard me stutter not one time in this video. Not one time. I'm just telling you, in the end, you can't let people who don't like this country continue to think that they are ruling this country. And that's the problem. You have all of the authoritarians in California that will not do anything about the problem. And that's the big issue. These are individuals that are using everything for political gain. Bottom line is this: if you want to just put everything into a package, this is really the downfall of the Democratic Party. Don't need a Democratic Party. I mean, they have a bunch of old heads still in their party, still with the old civil rights mindset, which they need to go. Many of the young ones, Jasmine Crockett's, your Ilhans. Notice there are a lot of stupid women in that party. Get a number of them also on the news networks, the CNNs, your MSNBCs, your Tiffany Crosses, your Joy Reids, your Abby Phillips. Then you get your dumb feminist men out here who are basically siding with women because they're too weak to think for themselves. Those are big issues. And see, when you have Americans siding with these illegals, that's a real big issue. And I believe there's nothing wrong with having your own opinion. But they should charge these Americans. You can be on the side of the illegals if you want. Why don't you go out of this country with them? Like totalitarianism so much, get plenty of it in those other countries. Now, no offense to the ones who have come here and done everything. I'm not talking about you because you understand what your country was doing and you wanted a better opportunity. Shout out to you. I just want to make that clear. Shout out to you. And you all who have come over here and done it the legal way, I don't see you out there waving a flag from that other country you came from, because that other country you came from, that was the villainous country. You didn't want to be there because you knew what was going down. But you have people who are coming here and they want to feast off of the pot that I've created for them and for us by way of my tax money. And they think they're owed something. And they're talking about Americans being deported. First of all, these individuals crossed the Rio Grande and crossed the border from Mexico into Arizona, from across the border from Baja California into San Diego illegally. That's a criminal. I guarantee if I crossed the border into Mexico illegally, something would happen. If I go into Mexico with an American flag, something's going to happen. Even if I'm coming from another Spanish country, because again, you got a lot of these Spanish people who don't like each other. Colombians don't like Mexicans. Mexicans don't like Puerto Ricans. Now, I know Minister Jap put it out there where they don't like black people, but I've been around, again, where Puerto Ricans and Mexicans don't get along. Brazilians and Colombians, and they're all Latinos. Now, one must understand this with the racism, and they talk about light-skinned people. Well, over in India, they got the caste system. Ones with the money rule. Well, at one time, Mexico used to be New Spain. So a number of your Mexicans are mixed with some European Spanish, your Puerto Ricans. Some of them mixed with African, some of them are mixed with Spanish and conquistadors as well. A lot of people don't know that. And even your blacks, ones who look like me, again, who speak Spanish, they don't consider themselves black. So I will say this, as an African American man, we don't have allies. We don't. Now, we might have some individuals that are going to support us, but we don't have a group of individuals. And see, with the black man, a lot of women that make us weak too. This is why you hear the older men talk the way they do, because they were weakened. I'm talking about some of the Gen Xers all the way down. Weak. Oh, yeah, we'll go at each other. But when it comes to real battle, we won't deal with battle. And again, with all these illegals, coming in here. They're not required to learn the history of America. They're not required to speak English, but they can sit down, live off the fat of the lamb, and live much better than I'm living. And they're cared for much better than me. And I was born here. And yes, Jesse Jackson brought up the term African Americans. Let me get that term out of the way as well. I'm Black. I'm American. I'm not African. I'm Black. Now, the descendants of me may have come from Africa, but I'm not African. I have nothing to do with Africa. In fact, the only time I've been to Africa was Al Hasima, Africa, and Morocco when I was in the Navy. And I wasn't much impressed with it. But I had to go there because I was given orders to go there. But outside of that, I have nothing to do with Africa. I'm Black American. And I believe in that flag. Certainly, America has had its problems. But when you are siding with foreign nationals out here, particularly you Democrats, thinking that you're going to stay in power, to me, you're committing an act of treason. You're going against your own people. And then when you get people that you are putting the bullshit propaganda in their head, you all need to go to jail or go live in that other country, because you all are doing the country a lot of harm. For you individuals who don't like Trump, particularly when it comes to deportation, this is what he said he was going to do. You go back and look at all of the riots that you had for Obama. There was none. But you wanted to riot back in 2020 for George Floyd. See, the problem with the Democrats is they love criminals. They love the pedos, they love the criminals, and they side with the criminal. That's what's wrong with the Democrats. I mean, gave that man a golden casket, and he did nothing for society. And at that time, it was COVID. We were supposed to be inside. Well, hypocrisy reigned on the Democrats, and there were marches going on over George Floyd. Too many of us never even heard of, and now we're finding out on that. Man was already drugged up anyway. But again, you got your Al Sharptons, your Jesse Jacksons, and that's the problem. Here in the Black community, the old leadership hasn't died out yet. This old leadership has been around since the 60s. And they're still talking about the same old issues. They don't want to change. And the Democrats, they don't want to change. They want to continue to promote their communism no matter who is in power. And in the end, when it comes to brass taxes, the left in this country doesn't like anyone who disagrees with them. So what the left does, they pay activists to do harm and destruction to people to whom they don't believe in. They destroy property. They have allowed these immigrants to come in there, fly their flag on American soil. No other country does that. Because if I want to fly my flag over in those other countries, something would happen to me. I said that earlier in this video, but we let them get away with it. Why? Because Democrats don't care about American people. They only care about staying in power. And the way to stay in power is to convince people that this country is the problem. The real problem is the Democrats. And why are they the problem? Because the Democrats are the ones who are promoting chaos. They want to continue to destroy this country for power. And in the end, all you legal immigrants, all you free thinking blacks, all you educated Asians, Indian people, utilize your power and knowledge and defeat these Democrats. Because if you don't, we're always going to live in chaos. Why? Because the Democrats want to control every aspect of our lives. And when they can't, they will find a way to destroy us as a race. Issues like abortion, high taxation, bringing in illegals, divide and conquer, identity politics, lies and corruption by the media, and an education system, a religious system that indoctrinates individuals, particularly children, that we are bad, tearing down the country, tearing down those statues, even though some of the people that they tore down, like General Lee, were bad people in their eyes. But that's history. They want to lie. They want to deceive because they're delusional people. They don't see the real world for what it is. They make up everything as they go along because they're children. They're children. When they don't get their way, they have tantrums. And I always say this, when it comes to issues and problems, bottom line, when it comes to the left, some people on the right, some people in the middle, emotions cloud critical thinking. And when you cannot control your emotions, you're going to destroy not only yourself and others, thinking that the ideology that you believe in is much greater than what was laid out here in America after it became an independent country from England. Bottom line is, the Democrats are using anything and everything to control everything that they don't stand for in this country. And I'm going to ask you this in the end. You want to be free? Freedom is worth fighting for. Or do you want to be on a plantation? Because if you want to be on a plantation, vote Democrat. Want to be free, understand what's going on in the world, and control your emotions. Because in the end, when you have knowledge, you have power. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you are looking for some STEM content, please check out my second channel, the QCIS channel, also right here on YouTube. So here's where you can find me. On Talk Zone Radio Show, which this is my main channel. You can find me right here on YouTube. You can find me on X, formerly Twitter. You can also find me on Rumble, and you can find me on Truth Social. Now, for the QCIS channel, you can find me right here on YouTube. Also, find me on X, formerly Twitter, and LinkedIn. And once again, I'm just going to say this: always be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Know that the sun always rises in the east, sets in the west. And if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. You don't like the shoe, then change it. And once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone Radio Show. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.